Good morning, YouTubers. We're right in the middle of March of 2020, and I just, want to go over, first of all, the hat. The hat is a true Stetson, and I thought I lost it at one point recently. I went to Fred Meyer's customer service to ask about it. I started at the crowbar. Now, we're supposed to not haunt the crowbar these days, so I'll be having less of that for a while. Because of the public health crisis, right? So I'm not going to talk about that because roll back a couple videos and I do touch on virus topology or morphology, the structure of the icosahedron, simply because of the polyhedrons linked to sphere packing bridge. We go back and forth between polyhedrons and sphere packings rather fluently. It's easy to do in the CCP, which is where we locate this concentric hierarchy. So yeah, I'm going to focus on the usual things that this channel is mostly about and suggest the pedagogy up front that I think is practical because people are like, what good are polyhedra? But they don't think that about SQL if they know what that is, right? Structured query language. And so polyhedra need to be stored. And more than that, relational tables work well for them because the polyhedron as a whole has a name. We could say a color. That seems gratuitous to some, perhaps. And then, store it all in these relational tables and then consult that table. So we have to learn SQL, and that's not typically taught in any high school math track. But as you've remembered, I go, or as I'm informing you for the first time, I go through a two-track approach here where, so lambda, I mean to not have me talking, and lambda calc is based on more like the vocational shop track of practical skills. We use a lot of geometry, but because we're trying to build a house or geodesic dome or whatever, not necessarily because we're in the job of proving things all the time. Like we take advantage of proofs, the wealth of proofs that are out there, without necessarily doing, it's a different emphasis. There's a lot more coding and computer stuff. So this is the video called The Proposal, where I talk that up. So getting SQL in the picture in conjunction with relational tables, doing polyhedrons in a database with the concentric hierarchy. In my case, that would be the branded favorite thing to do. In other words, it's characteristic of my curriculum to want to go with this American transcendentalist literature. More explaining the hat, it's kind of a Quaker thing. We link up, through that movement in some ways. And especially through this, right? This stuff at this point for me. So the other part of it is then, once you've got those polyhedra down, right, you're going to want to render them somehow. And I've got the animated GIF going. My daughter sent me the academic favorite right now, the one they use most, like in the universities. A free open source package called Fiji is used a lot. Wraps Image J, is it called? Anyway, wonderful software, really cool. And so I'm enhancing this paper, which I call it a paper. Of course, it's all pixels. It's a Jupyter notebook on GitHub, free, not behind any kind of paywall or anything. And it's written in a high school accessible kind of curriculum friendly tone because we are, looking at the basics here. Sphere packing as a topic and ray tracing as a topic and things that are practical, things that make logos, things you can use on the job, skills like Jupyter notebooks, SQL, and coordinate geometry. In other words, we do for CAD purposes, for architecture, for engineering, for familiarity with, spatial coordinates, and I'm including XYZ in that, right? It's not true that I have any grudge or some kind of axe to grind against XYZ. The quadrace is more in parody of itself in a way. It's all wrong. It's like the crooked house or something. It's in this Narnia world of another civilization, and that's why I call it Martian math. It's alien. And it's not like I'm on some missionary crusade to convert the world to another coordinate system. It's just throw it in the bag, right? But it's fun to have, like they always say, a level playing field, meaning when we're learning a lot of new material, it's fun that some of it's still new to all of us in a way. So yeah, in this paper, we're just developing all the polyhedrons, and this you could say is the original workshop for the latest iteration in any case. And then I'm mining this data to actually populate the other tables I'm showing here in the background, right? But the point being, you've got a lot of integration, curriculum integration here. You've got a very elaborate geometry that has all kinds of links, as we've seen, to biology, crystallography, and so forth. Geometry of nature, you can put that in quotes if you're skeptical, but we're just saying XYZ is not the only way to go. So take a look at the IVM, right? As a part of literature, you can do it that way. And then realize that the polyhedrons carry over into serious computer science because they're graphs anyway. A polyhedron is what we mean by graph as opposed to a plot, which is more like a chart. So integrate all that together, database, querying the database, updating the database, all that SQL stuff mixed with, I'll call it three-dimensional coordinates. We'll just say XYZ. If you want to do it conventional, be my guest. It's still a good synergy, I think you would admit. And teach that along a different track. I'm not saying replace the calculus. I'm not saying change what you're already doing in high school. I'm saying, hey, add another track, greenfield development, and let the teachers pioneer it, right? Help faculty build their skills by being the authors of their own curriculum with guidance from outside as much as they want to grab some, right? There's a lot of free stuff out there. All right, and stuff you can pay for. I'll talk to you later.